Welcome to the latest edition of our webinar series. My name's Neil Thorne and I am Head of Business Development at Ometis, and I'll be comparing the session today. So joining me today are three of the team that attended the conference. So that's Alex Walker, Simon Blackburn and David Tomlins. And they're each going to be sharing their thoughts and insights on the presentations they saw at the event. Now, unfortunately, Ryan Peachy can't be with us today to share his thoughts as he's on holiday. It's a bit of a pathetic excuse for missing a webinar, but hey-ho. And as I mentioned earlier, Ryan was invited by Qlik to present at one of the breakout sessions, which was great kudos for him and for Ometis, frankly. And we'll get Ryan on a future webinar to go through his presentation. So I noticed there's a handful of people on the call today that are probably not aware of Ometis and what we do. So we're just over 50 people. Essentially, we help organizations get more value from their data. We help them with data strategy, data transformation, all the way through to data integration and governance, data literacy, and then on to advanced analytics and AI. We partner with Qlik. In fact, we are their #1 partner in the UK. And we also partner with the likes of Snowflake, Databricks, Jedox, Microsoft. So we support our customers across a broad reach of technologies. So at this point, let's just get on with the session. So one of the parts of the conference I always found interesting when I attended were the keynote speeches by Qlik's executives. So they highlight the ongoing market trends and changes that then, of course, drive Qlik's product strategy. So this year was no different, and 4 elements to me stood out. I hope my colleagues agree with me, that sort of mirror our experiences too. So this whole increased AI investment, businesses are continuing the momentum of getting themselves ready for AI projects. And you can see there, some recent research discovered that more than 90% of businesses anticipate increasing their spending on AI data readiness over the next 12 months. Now, the good news for you from a product perspective is that Qlik has already moved beyond basic AI integration to introduce something that will make you very popular at parties, agentic AI capabilities directly into the analytics platforms, and you'll hear more about that shortly. Open data architecture. Now, Qlik acquired a company called Upsolver recently, which Alex will talk about how that's affected the growing adoption of data lakehouses. And then on the data product side, one of the biggest challenges is still the gap between the data producers and then the consumers of that data. And we're going to dive into how Qlik is addressing this next with David. And then lastly, moving to cloud, it still remains a key priority for business leaders in 2025. You can see from the statistic that shows that 39% of leaders are prioritizing cloud-based BI tools as a key focus area. And Qlik recently acquired Cloud Cover Migrate, I think that's right, Alex, from a company called Qlik Connect, and they now offer automated migration tools that are 2 to 10 times faster than manual processes. And not only do businesses find analytics faster to access on the cloud, but they also have more capabilities available to them that are not accessible in an on-premise premises deployment. And of course, they get to see lower infrastructure costs. Now, we're not going to go into detail about that element today, but if you are struggling with moving to cloud or going hybrid, then please do reach out to us. So, right, over to our first speaker today, David Tomlins, and David will talk about some of the new developments in Qlik. So, So I'm going to talk about is sort of the AI. There's a very, as
as it was last year, there's a very strong thread of using AI and getting the most out of AI in your business. What I've shown here on the slide is a sort of a well-defined pathway as organizations mature in their use of data and AI, but one that sort of mirrors the way that technology is advancing, but also internal ambition within those businesses as well. This journey takes us on from descriptive analytics to predictive insights, and now what gets all the headlines is generative creativity, such as ChatGPT, and ultimately what's coming now is agentic autonomy. If we start on the left with descriptive analytics, something we're all very familiar with QlikView, Qlik Sense, and around 90% of organizations still rely on this as a descriptive tool. It's useful, but ultimately backward looking. So it helps us to explain the past, but it doesn't particularly help us very well in looking to the future. The next step on that journey is then to look at predictive analytics. So currently only 50% of businesses use predictive AI for any sort of decision making. But where we can, we should really look to shift from a reactive to a proactive way of forecasting these kind of elements. So whether it's customer churn or predicting stock requirements, predictive AI can really help you with that. Obviously Qlik for descriptive, it has Qlik Sense and QlikView, but with predictive AI, we've got AutoML, which has now been renamed to Qlik Predict, which sort of gives you the capability to use predictive AI within your Qlik dataset to analyze where you're going in the future. The next element is generative AI, which is sort of the headline makers of the moment, which is like the ChatGPTs, the Claudes, the Copilots, and other tools that generate text and image and code, and even sort of is advanced enough to create business plans or offer creative advice on different elements. And it's coming fast. 75% of businesses plan to use this generative AI within the next 2 years. And what Qlik has done is what they released last year was Qlik Answers. So that is a interactive tool which you can use to search through your unstructured data. Now, what's coming from that perspective is being able to also search in the same way through your structured data, so your QVD tables that are available to you within your environment. So that will be sort of announced as something that's coming. I do see some challenges here though, because historically generative AI isn't very good at doing maths. It's great at producing text, but it's not great at adding sums. So I think there's going to be some key challenges for Qlik to produce that, but that's certainly something they're looking to release in the future. And then finally, which is agentic AI, which is what's the new kid on the block. That's sort of more recent than the rest. And it's all about systems that not only generate and decide, but also act as well. So these agents will sort of monitor and plan and execute tasks in your environment with minimal human input. And it's expected by 2028, it's expected that 33% of enterprise applications will embed some sort of this agentic AI. So it's coming and it's here, and Qlik are certainly providing as much as it can to kind of allow you to make the most out of AI from those perspectives. And here's the sort of the AI agents that they were talking about. So we already have Insight Advisor. That's something that Qlik released quite a few years ago. They are looking to release an Insight Advisor 2.0 is coming. I think that's been coming for a while, where that will improve sort of the NLP or natural language processing and your insights, but also integrate with the rest of Qlik's wider agentic framework that's planned. And the two main ones that were released and talked about with the discovery agent and the pipeline agent. The sort of discovery agent is sort of an AI-powered insight advisor that works continuously in the background and employs advanced algorithms and utilizing Qlik's associative engine and Qlik Predict to sort of monitor your data apps, your usage, and sort of proactively identify sort of trends or risks, opportunities across your whole data set. So instead of waiting to ask a question, the agent sort of services noteworthy findings on its own and kind of pushes that towards you. So if your KPIs are risk of tailing off or something like that, it will let you know that that's happening. The other element is the pipeline agent. So this is still more of a concept stage, but it's aimed to create data pipelines through natural language. So the idea is that even a non-technical person could describe a business outcome or a data workflow in plain English, and the agent would automatically recommend and design the necessary pipes. That's what their ambitions are, and this is where they're trying to get to with AI.
Okay, so on to one of the other themes around kind of Qlik's open lakehouse architecture. Again, a bit like David, a quick kind of history lesson, as it were. With data warehouses have been around for a long time now. You may have one or you may not, but they're typically kind of SQL based, very good at analytics, very structured. The traditional way of kind of bringing a lot of data together to try and get that one version of the truth, where you've moved beyond kind of just ingesting directly into your analytics platform. More recent is kind of the concept of a data lake, where you just kind of let's just get all our data and throw it into one place. Essentially, that's obviously a very not non-technical approach to it. Or summary of it suits Neil. That's how I'll explain it to you. And these both have kind of real strength advantages, but also some weaknesses and so on. And so more recently, the concept of a lakehouse, a combination of the two, has been coming to the forefront as being able to do a bit of both and try and kind of mitigate some of the downsides and get some of the benefits of both. However, even with that, there's still the cost. You still always have to ingest your data somewhere, and those costs are seeing as rising because there's more data coming out there. You're needing to bring it in. If you're needing to do some computation on that as it comes in, that can be expensive. As I mentioned, there's some data warehouses tend to not be able to be that agile to kind of move quickly and change as things are changing underneath them. Data lakes can become a bit of a sprawl and get a bit out of control because you're just putting all your data in there. You end up loading things multiple times, that kind of stuff. And again, with both of these, you can end up with that vendor lock-in. So those are kind of the red points at the top there. So the concept of an open lakehouse tries to kind of mitigate some of those as well, whilst kind of building on that architecture. The idea being that you end up with a fast governed data set that people can use, and it's still in one place. So you've got that those benefits, and you can get from that cost savings. One of the key things here is if you've been using a data lake or a data warehouse, that ingestion cost, often you've got to pay for some compute, some kind of resources to do that. The architecture behind this and typically is kind of zero compute. You can land your data into the data platform just with storage. You can do that with some data lakes as well. Increased agility, so moving away from that super structured data warehouse, needing to define everything up front, that schema on write, as it says there on the right hand side of the slide, where you have to define what your data structures are going to look like before you start, what your end data structures are going to look like, because you need to put them in that format as you land them. But they're also less complex as well from having that kind of variety of data that you get in a data lake and so on. So it's trying, like I say, keep saying, combines the benefits of both. So Qlik's offering around this is in Qlik Cloud. They're calling it Qlik Open Lakehouse. It's going to be a fully managed lakehouse that you can create, manage, maintain, monitor, all from within Qlik Cloud. As Neil mentioned, builds on some of the Upsolver technology, but also leveraging the Qlik, what came from Attunity and then what's come from Talend as well. That's a real kind of a good combination of companies and technologies there to provide this. Underneath the technologies there are what's open about it, as well as the platforms it integrates with. The technologies are open as well, so it's using Iceberg, the kind of the new hot table format that's out there, built on top of Parquet files, which again, industry standard stuff, and you can have that storing in whatever storage you want. Qlik are going to start with Amazon S3 because that's where their Qlik Cloud is in Amazon, so of course they're going to start there, but I'm sure that'll broaden out. But as with a lot of open technologies, the key thing is putting it together in an offering that hangs together, functions well, and offers a stable and a scalable platform. My opinion on this one is, that it's a really good way to go. Open is the way to go with data. You're trying to lock stuff away is not a great way to go. So I think it's really good. It's going to be interoperable both in source and target, and it's built on technologies that mean people can trust that if for whatever reason they did want to move away, they wouldn't lose access to that data. They've still got control of it. So yeah, really good starting point, but also scalable for the future. So over to you, Simon.
So, as was mentioned earlier, the gap still between producers and consumers is the biggest challenge that we have within data. Data teams are still reactive. Users want reliable data. Sometimes they struggle to find it. And Qlik are working to address this challenge by delivering infrastructure to us that will solve the problem. So they're looking at 3 specific areas. They're looking at trust scores. They're looking at table recipes, and some talent integration. So the trust scores, they work a lot like the credit scores that we all have. And it's a single number. It's a score between 0 and 5. It looks at things like data validity, completeness of our data, usage and documentation, those sorts of areas to give us that score. So we know then how good a quality that data is that we're going to be working on. When we move then into the table recipes, that's giving us a visual list on actually what's actually happened to that data, the cleaning steps that have maybe taken place, the transformations and modifications that have happened to that data so that users can understand exactly what happened to their data since it was loaded. And then finally, on the talent side of things, what we're seeing is data quality checks being run automatically so that organizations with mature data products can see their data automatically being updated. And the impact of this is that it's quite feasible that you could see something in the region of a 6-time improvement in faster data preparation, and increases in improvement on innovation metrics as well. So there's some real key changes going on here to improve the quality of the data and how we might use it. So, Neil, back to you.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Simon. So David and Alex are going to talk now about a couple of major rebranding updates. Qlik AutoML is now going to be called Qlik Predict, and Qlik Application Automation is now called Qlik Automate. So, to start with you, David, can you talk us through the changes that have been brought in for Qlik Predict?
Yeah, so one of the main changes that's coming in is multivariate time series forecasting, which just gives you what single variable is say you might just want to forecast what your sales figures are, and it just looks at your previous sales figures and forecasts that forward based upon any sort of trends it sees in the data. What multivariate time series forecasting allows you to do is it will forecast your sales figures, but it might also look at how market spend's affecting that, or product pricing, or holidays and seasonality, or stock levels. So it looks at multiple factors when forecasting that sales figure forwards, which I think will really enhance that proposition for Qlik Predict, and it will give us a much better, more accurate way of forecasting those things going forwards.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Alex, do you want to take us through?
Yeah,
Qlik
so the
Automate?
Qlik Application Automation, always been a bit of a mouthful, hasn't it? So
Yeah.
I think that's just a good
So
simplification there. And also, I think it just removes that association with application automation. It is an a tool to automate things. So I think that's just simplifying the name, really. No specific additional features coming with that. It's just a renaming there. In terms of other things, kind of below on the right hand side of the slide there, just a couple of other things they announced around the analytics platform. Simon's already mentioned table recipe in there, but that's just that spreadsheet-like interface. Build a set of steps to clean your data. Really powerful. If you'd ever used the Talend data prep, it's very similar to that. It's built on the same intellectual property. In fact, shout out to Olivier Dubois. I don't know if he watches these webinars, and his team. They've been iterating a lot on the data prep capabilities in the Qlik platform recently, with data flow and the script object and things like that. So lots going on there. Table recipes, the latest iteration of that. When you're working on one table at a time, you just need to clean that data up. pitched at AI data sets, self-service power user kind of data sets and things like that. The other one that was we knew was coming, but it was a slight surprise it came out when it did, was the write table that Qlik had building in native writeback functionality into the cloud platform. It's basic kind of entry level stuff, but nice. I'm sure it'll be fully integrated. It's going to, you're not going to need to reload data, change a line, and it's going to update your model around it and so on. One of the questions we've already been asked and we've been asking is to the Infinity guys, who you may know we work closely with around their writeback and other solutions. The key thing here is that Qlik are doing what is that basic entry level, integrated, governed, and high performance. But if you're looking for any additional features like writing to external sources and stuff, that's very unlikely to be there at the beginning, may never come, or different types of field types. I know the Infinity guys just released the ability to have signature fields in their forms and things like that, or top down, bottom up planning functionality. We're not expecting that to come into the Qlik write table option at this stage, so we definitely still go down the Infinity route for any of those beyond that kind of basic write back functionality. But good to see it in there. It's going to tick a box on some evaluation criteria. It's going to meet some needs for a bunch of people. It's going to be included in the platform, governed and secure and easy to set up. So we see that as a big win, whilst still needing other options out there for the more advanced use cases.
Okay. So the bit that I always like is when we talk about actual use cases of customers, and there's a few of the sessions that take place at Qlik Connect where they go through these. And Simon, are you okay to take us through a few of those that you heard about?
Yeah, absolutely, Neil. Yeah. So I've got a couple to talk about. The first one is a leading food manufacturer, food grower. They were already a Qlik Cloud user, so already had all of their data in Qlik Cloud, but they were loading many sources of data into Qlik, a lot of them being spreadsheets. They needed a better way of doing their planning. They were struggling to get all of this data accurately, quickly, and easily into QlikSense. And all of their planning, anybody that's ever done planning and has done planning in a spreadsheet will know all of the challenges associated with planning in a spreadsheet, accuracy of data, master versions, all sorts of issues like that. Has somebody made a change to a spreadsheet? So all sorts of issues. They were looking for a way to replace those spreadsheets and have effectively one single source of truth, improve the speed of forecasting and planning. And that's when they came across Infinity and the write back capability. And as Alex has just touched on, the sort of forecasting top down, bottom up planning capability. So they decided to run a proof of concept. In their case, that was something in the region of 30 to 40 days. Doesn't always have to be the case, but it obviously depends on the use case as to how long a POC would take. But that proved entirely successful. And so they have subsequently implemented Infinity into their solution. And what it gives them is Infinity embedded within Qlik Cloud dashboards for users to do all of their planning, all of their forecasting based on actual data that already exists in Qlik Cloud. So they've managed to reduce the number of spreadsheets significantly. And all of their planning now is done in Qlik. So all their data all in one place. So a real significant change from a transformation point of view, and a real time saving that they generated as well.
Yeah, sure.
So that's one example. The second example, again based around food, but this time being food delivery. So this is more about customer service. This is where the company is concerned about cancellations and failed deliveries to customers. They needed to provide a way to better understand what volume there was and to be able to respond quickly. Data existed in a Snowflake data warehouse. Qlik Cloud sat over the top, and they used what was application automation, now Qlik Automate, to look at this data. They had people in head office, probably about 10 people in head office, chasing couriers to understand whether deliveries had been made or not been made. And so with Qlik Automate, they were able to automate this process, identify whether deliveries have been made or not made, whether they were on time. They had a almost real-time data warehouse, so you can see from the note there being refreshed every 5 minutes. And what this has meant is that they're now able to react and respond much more quickly to issues that may arise with deliveries. And the consequence of that is fewer failed deliveries, and where there are challenges with customer deliveries, they're able to respond and react quickly and retain customers, so reducing the customer churn. So, you know, some real strong cases there of customers using some of the advanced capabilities that were available in Qlik to really add value and make a difference to their businesses.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So before he went away, I had a chat with Ryan about some of the AI automation use cases he'd heard about at the conference, and he's given me 3 examples to talk to you about. One was around support teams using Qlik to pull customer information from the various sources when requests come in, and then have AI generate summaries for responses to save time. I mean, I've seen some of this in action with, you know, sort of chatbots that talk back to you, driven by AI. So that was one example he gave me, and also, I mean, this is a bit closer to home really, because we've done some of this ourselves. Which is using Qlik to for learning organisations, so universities, colleges, using Qlik to analyse student progress, and then automatically setting up mentoring, for those that are falling behind. And you know, of course, this can benefit not only the students, but also the universities themselves that are able to hold on to students they may otherwise lose. And you know, in these current financial times, that's very important for them. And then lastly, he mentioned the operations teams using Qlik to detect, the term he used was KPI breaches, which I quite liked, and create tasks that compel managers into immediate action. So it's you know, it's just making it it's proactively telling people what they should be doing. So I mean, that's it really for the use cases, but please, if you have any ideas on doing more with Qlik or Infinity or Snowflake, then you know, do reach out to us, and we can help you bring it to life. Right, and then last comments really from you all before we go on to Q&A. You know, favorite Qlik Connect experience. Let's start with that one, Alex.
Yeah, one of my least favourites I was going to go with was we were all very excited. We had the privilege of getting to go to Animal Kingdom as the celebration event, but I got very travel sick on one of the VR rides there, so I wasn't very, that wasn't the highlight. I was hoping it was going to be, but it turned out not to be.
Right.
No, I think the highlight for me is always getting close to the product teams, the technical people, seeing some of the previews. I'm always like loving seeing the new gadgets, and can't wait to get hands on with them. So yeah, that's generally my highlight.
Yeah, fair enough. David?
I think similar to Alex in terms of seeing all the new stuff, but some of the really good use cases is how we can that I went on some workshops for, was in sort of embedding LLMs into Qlik itself.
Right.
So I went on a couple of workshops, one for Amazon Bedrock and the other one for Snowflake Cortex,
Yep.
where within your app, if you send, well, you have to be cautious with the security, and this was just a kind of workshop, so just caveat that. You can send some of your data to one of these LLMs with a contextual question and have it return in Qlik Sense. So the example I had was we had a beer company. We said, what's the beer culture in these different countries where we were selling beer, and it told you, like, in Germany they prefer brown ale, blah 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 blah, and just being able to add that kind of additional context to your analytics tool really sort of interested me.
Yeah. Simon?
I think for me, unsurprisingly, there's still a huge amount of talk about AI. Clearly, they're going to be. But I think what really struck me was the maturity of AI, in that we've been talking about it now for 18 months or 2 years. People are using it, but actually now what we can see is companies using it and getting real, true, tangible value out of it. They can actually put a monetary sum on it and say, this has made this much of a difference. And so like Dave was talking about the use cases, I like those use cases. One organization using Qlik Answers to create a knowledge base for their customers, so that their customers now have a chat bot. They can go onto the website, they can ask a question, the question is queried of Qlik Answers. That's reduced the volume of tickets going into their support team by 50%. That's a huge sum for a large organization like them. And another meat processing company is using Qlik Predict to work out exactly what volume of different types of meat they need to cut for their customers per week, and they're reducing their waste by tens of thousands of euros. So we're now really starting to see, for me, AI coming of time, where it's really truly got value to it. And the fact that Qlik are making it much easier to use now, so we don't need to have data scientists like we needed a couple of years ago with Qlik Predict, just opens it up for everybody. Anybody with an idea should just have a go at it.
Yeah, nice. Okay, all right. I am a little conscious of time. We've enjoyed the chat, so let me move on to Q&A, just so that we've got enough time for any questions that may have come in. But just before we get to that, I just want to let you know about another event that we've got coming up soon. On 9th of July, the next Qlik meetup will take place, again at one of our customers' sites, the Cozy Club in the centre of Birmingham. And Qlik meetups really are, I have to be careful here, being as Alex is running it. They're aimed predominantly at the more technical people, I think it's fair to say. And they're sort of early evening discussion groups in a nice relaxed atmosphere, some nibbles, and have proved very popular in the past. So please get along to that if you can. And there are others around the country as well that we would encourage you to look at. And then, as usual, if you follow Ometis on LinkedIn, we make most of our announcements on there. So we'll email you too. So hopefully nothing slips through the net. But in terms of coming to the Q&A, Trish, do we have any questions that have come in yet? Are people being shy?
We do, yes, from Andreas. What's the timeline for the new capabilities being launched in Qlik Cloud? Agents, table recipe, and so on. Did Qlik share any information about that?
I'm happy to say that one if you like. Yeah, so I think table recipe is in preview at the moment, so we've got access to it. That normally means we're weeks away from it coming out, not months, but we will see. So our expectation is that early access preview is ending in, I think, a week or so's time, so we don't have much time left on that. So I'm hoping, again, this will all be dependent on test results and things like that we'll see that one possibly in June. Others, we've been indicated they are going to be mid-year, which mid-year sometimes might stretch to October or something, I don't know, depending on how things go. So yeah, these are all within the time frame of this year is the idea. Maybe not the pipeline agent, but certainly the discovery agent, and the other things we've seen there, the write table. Again, I think that one's almost ready to go from what I understand as well. So we're these are futures, but they're not distant futures, if you see what I mean from my understanding.
Cool, thank you.
And there's another question from Scott, which we could pick up as Chris is not here. Did Qlik share any commercial details about adding Qlik Answers to an existing tenant? I can see this included in the capacity-based license model, but what does it look like for user-based licenses using analyzer capacity?
Ouch. Yeah, that probably is one.
I feel like it's an exam question.
I think the answer to that one might be, as Scott says, there are some limited capabilities of Qlik Answers within Qlik Cloud capacity, but you can buy Qlik answers separately if you are using a named user license model.
Yeah, I think that's it for now. So there'll be a commercial decision to make there between switching to get some allowance or having to pay for it as kind of effectively kind of standalone license. So contact your account manager to discuss further.
You need to do that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
talking of Qlik Answers, that is, I think Qlik Answers today, that's sort of a little bit of a tweak that's coming along. I think Qlik Answers is going to mean more than it does today. Like today, it means unstructured data, ask a question, generative AI. They're going to be using that branding a bit more to mean just kind of, it's the AI that powers kind of Qlik. It'll be Qlik Answers. So, and again, just in case we didn't mention it, one of the key things they were talking about was Qlik Answers. You'll be able to ask a question and it will figure out if you should be getting a structured data answer or unstructured, or perhaps a combination of the two. And I think that's, again, it's kind of building that use case out to cover the structured data, which I know has been something that people have been asking for from Qlik Answers. Like, I need it to know my dashboard and then have some context from unstructured documents. So really excited to see that coming to fruition when we get there.
No, absolutely. Trish, are there any others?
No other questions, but I will include an email address in the comments if anyone else has any other questions after this webinar.
Yeah, and Scott will reach out to you at after the event as well, just to get a specific answer for you. Okay, so if there are no other questions, it leaves me to sort of thank you again for taking the time to attend. I hope you found it useful, informative. And look out for information on our next webinars coming soon. Lastly, thank you to the guys who stood up on the precipice and answered the questions as they were thrown in. Ryan, we will, we'll find a way to treat your way of escaping it soon. But yeah, thanks again for your time. It is much appreciated, and we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar. Thanks all.